All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. Today, we are going to be talking about the FDR administration and basically what does he do to try to get the U.S. out of the Great Depression. Some of the things you're going to hear, um, you know, hate to say it, but the thing is, there's not one thing that can be done to get us out of the Great Depression. So you might hear people in history, people in documentaries, so that saying like, "Oh, he didn't do enough," or this person could have done more. It's like, okay, here's the thing: the world was hurting, the entire world was hurting, and to get one country out, it's going to take time. Okay, and that's what this whole thing's about. And pretty creative stuff he comes up with. So the objective, we're going to analyze the steps that President Roosevelt took to stabilize the economy. We're going to examine the different programs and projects commissioned by the U.S. government. And then we're going to create an argument on whether it's fair that a president is judged by their first 100 days. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Okay. All right, so here's your warm-up picture. The first question asks you to analyze the picture and in a complete sentence explain what is going on here. Okay. Now, I don't know if you can see on the bowl itself, on the outside, there's a thing that says reorganization program. Okay. The little guy with his back turned towards us, it says Congress on his back. Okay. The second question asks you, based off your analysis of the picture, what do you think this artist is trying to say about FDR? Okay, and that is a picture of him. Done pretty well. You know, so look at what he's saying. Look what the bowl says. Look at the size of him. Look at the size of his bowl. That should really help you out. Okay, so write your responses to those questions. Pause the video because we're moving on in three, two, one. All right. So Hoover, this is before Roosevelt became president. Hoover and like many other Republicans, they felt that the government shouldn't intervene, shouldn't meddle with the economy and businesses. The president before Hoover famously said, "The business of business is business," meaning let the business people do what they do best. They know how to handle business. They don't be over their shoulder. Let them handle things. The government shouldn't be involved. Here's the problem. If you let people like businesses, stock market people, and things like that, you let them do whatever they want and let them like regulate themselves, do you really think they're going to regulate themselves? Think of it like this. In class, if I was told, well, let the students be students, students know how to be students, you know, and basically there's a school policy that says that students can be on their phones, on the computer, playing games, things like that, and they know when to do work. They know when to handle it themselves. In all honesty, would anybody do work in the classroom? No, probably not, right? Maybe one or two students, but that's about it. Everyone else is going to be, okay, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I'll do it right now. I know what's best for me. I know when to do this stuff. I'll do it later. And what do you guys do? Last minute, right before it's due, you might do the work, turn it in, or copy, or try to find stuff online. But that's the thing. You can't, especially with money and businesses, you can't just let them govern themselves because they're going to try to get away with everything. And that's what happened in the stock market. These companies decided to take advantage. And also, you have to remember there were no safety nets back in the day. And I use the word safety net as a quote thing because the thing is, there's some things we have in this country nowadays that we take advantage where we think everyone has always had them, but we haven't. Okay, we're going to get to that in a little bit. So by the time the election of 1932 came, 15 million people couldn't get a job. It's not that they didn't want to get a job. No, these guys wanted to get a job, but there were no jobs. Nobody was hiring. And if you were lucky enough to have your job, your pay would be here, and all of a sudden now it's down here. Okay. So that's 15 million people. That was 20% of the population back then. So if you look somewhere, and for every 5 people, one person would be without a job. So it was pretty bad. Okay. Now, FDR, he runs for president and he wins easily because of the Great Depression and some of that. He wins. On March 4th, 1933, it's his inauguration day. So the celebration comes up, he's sworn in as president, and right away he orders that all banks be closed. Okay? In his inauguration speech, he says, "Let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself." Now, I've had students in the past going, "Well, what does that mean?" Well, think of it like this. What are you scared of? Is it snakes, rats, cockroaches? What are you scared of? Here's the thing. Who made you scared of that? And chances are the answer is you. You saw it, you got scared. Now, if you face that fear, and you overcome it, now that fear has nothing on you. It does not have a hold of you. So again, who gave that fear power? You did. You're the one who gave it that fear. No one put that fear in you. You did that yourself. So that's what he's saying. The only thing we truly have to fear is fear itself. And if we conquer and face our fears, nothing can hold us back. All right, so the inauguration happens, the celebration, they're dancing, they're having a good time. And then right away, the very next morning, like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, he's up and off to work. The first thing he does is he creates a 4-day bank holiday. Okay, now why does he do this? He did this to give Congress time to pass reform bills and for banks to reopen so they could give money back to the people. So instead of saying like, "Hey, banks, the government's actually gonna give you some money," okay, and then you are then going to give the money to the people. Those people who you lent their money out. Well, give them this money, okay? Because then those people will go and buy groceries. They'll go and pay their rent. They'll go and maybe get some new clothes because the winter's coming up. Keep warm, things like that. Buy an extra blanket. But see, that kind of thing, when they buy small things, a lot of small things, that makes the economy roll. Okay? It's not millionaires and billionaires who make the economy move. It's you, me, your grandma, grandpa, aunt and uncles, things like that. People who buy the average day stuff, your toilet paper, your dish cleaner, your heck, even these little things, even these little pot figures and some of that. When you buy the average thing, you make the economy run, not millionaires and billionaires. Because chances are, when they buy something, they're buying something that's from another country, and they're paying several $100,000 for one thing. Whereas we, the American people, if we spend $100,000, that money is being spread out everywhere. Walmart, Target, dog store, pet store, Costco, things like that. So our money is going everywhere. These guys only spend it at one place. So we make the economy roll, not rich people. Okay. The other thing that Roosevelt did that really was significant was, as you see in this picture, he would get on the radio and talk directly to the people. Now, really, at this time, there was 2 things people had. One was their car, and the other thing was their radio. Okay. Now, I had a student in class ask me why their car, why not their home? Because a lot of people couldn't pay the mortgage on their homes, so they lost it. So a lot of people had to live in their cars. It's either live on the streets or live in their car. And a lot of people had paid for their car already, so they owned it. So excuse me. So some people, they live in their cars. But on the radio, he would have these chats, what became known as the fireside chats. And he told people, look, things are bad. I get it. But we're doing this thing, this thing, this thing. And what I hope it does is that it will make banks give money out, that this will help businesses restart. This will help the average person, find a job and be able to pay for things and things like that. He's telling them, I know things are down here, but we're trying to bring ourselves up. We can do it, but we all have to pitch in. We all have to do this. I can't do it by myself. You can't do it by yourself. So let's work together and see if we can dig ourselves out of this hole. And these chats brought people hope and brought back confidence in the government. Like, hey, this government's actually doing something. You know, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, those same people would be like, "Oh my God, the government sucks. They're not doing anything. They don't care about us." Now with Roosevelt, they feel hope. They have confidence now that, hey, maybe things aren't going to get better tomorrow, but they are getting better each day, and that's what's important. Okay. Now, in his first 100 days, he did so much, and this became like the first grade mark every president gets now. Their first 100 days. What exactly did you do? Because he had laws passed, hundreds of laws. He aimed at stabilizing factories, making sure that those that didn't close down, that they stayed open and they were able to sell their stuff. Making sure that farms, hey, let's get you back on your feet. Let's get those crops, planted. Let's sell those crops and let's hire some workers and things like that. And at the same time, started creating jobs that would help restore the economy. Now, remember I told you some companies closed down completely. He figured out a way where they could hire people and still pay them and make our country better. So here's your first question. When FDR did his fireside chats and talked to the American people the way he did, why do you think it made Americans feel more confident and gained hope, even though things were progressing slowly? Things didn't go from bad to good overnight. But it went slowly. But why do you think still, even though it was growing at a crawl, people were still hopeful? People had confidence now in the government. So why do you think it made people feel that way with his little chats? Okay, so write your responses. If you need help starting the sentence, the writing prompts on the bottom. I think that he made American people feel confident and have hope because, and explain. Okay, so pause the video, write your response because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so first thing I want to say is this. That little symbol you see on the bottom, that little FDIC, if you put money into a bank, make sure you see that somewhere, that they were a member of the FDIC, things like that, because that is a federally insured protection of that bank. So if that bank gets robbed, it gets burned down, destroyed, or whatever, your money is federally insured. You will be able to get your money. Maybe not that day, maybe not the next day, but definitely the following day. Okay? Because that's what he did. He changed the banking industry by introducing the FDIC, which is the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. And it was meant to protect people's money. So if you put money in the bank, he's saying you should be able to take it out. Even though the banks loaned your money out, you should still be able to take your money out and buy your stuff and things like that, because it's important for the American people to have their money. Okay. Now, that I told the classes before this, if a robber robbed your bank and you just put your money inside the safe, your money's gone now. That's it. It's gone. You're not going to get your money at all. Okay, but now with this, even to this day, If a bank has that inside, that means your money is federally protected. Now, let's say you go to a bank and it doesn't have that. You ask them, are you guys a member of FDIC? And they say no, you should not put your money in there. Because if that bank closes or shuts down or gets burned or robbed, your money's gone. And you can't be like, well, I want my money. Sorry, tough luck. And you have no one to blame but yourself. Okay. Also, what FDR did to make sure that people didn't swindle on the stock market, he created this thing called the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC. Their job is to regulate the stock market and prevent investors and companies from ambushing the stock market that lead to the crash. If you've ever heard of Martha Stewart, you know she went to jail. What happened was she basically got insider information. Someone told her the stock is going to drop. And she sold her stock right before it went down. And this raised a lot of eyebrows. People were like, well, why would you sell it? You know, you never sold any part of it up until right now. And all of a sudden, right when it's about to go down, you sell it. And so they did some investigation. They found out that, yeah, someone told her and then she sold her stuff. That's the thing. That's illegal. Okay. So, yes, they still are around to this day. They still do that job. Okay. Now, all the programs that Roosevelt had created were part of a recovery plan called the New Deal. The New Deal had so many different public works projects that employed people but also gave something back to the people and their country. Okay. Now, here's question number 2 for you. Why do you think it's so important for the American people to have confidence in their president and political leaders? So, not only the president of the United States, but also senators, congressmen, governors, mayors. Why is it important that we, the people, have confidence in them? All right. So the writing props on the bottom there, let me move my little camera thing because I wanted to show you that FDIC thing. So again, I think that is important for Americans to have confidence in their president and political leaders because, and explain. Okay. So pause the video. Okay. Because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. So one of the things that the New Deal programs did for the public use was the Tennessee Valley Authority, the TVA. What they did was they built a dam. Okay, they built a dam, so now they have a collection of water, and they're like, "Oh right, so now we have water, just in case something happens, we can always use this water." Then they're like, "Well, you know what? Why don't we put like only in the dam hydroelectric generators. So like when the water goes through it, it turns the dial, and that dial when it turns, it generates electricity. That's perfect. So not only do we have water collected here, we also are creating electricity, and now we can make the price of electricity go down. Everyone's happy. It's a win-win. So that's what they do. They do it again in the Colorado River, and that place is known as Hoover Dam, which you see in that picture right there. Same thing. All that water reserved, and then inside the dam, they have these big containers that take in water, and it turns the generator, it spins it, and it creates electricity. And that electricity goes to like LA. Okay. The other thing was like the Works Progress Administration, the WPA. They had permanent job program for 8.5 million people from 1935 to 1943. And what they would do is they would hire people to like go into the mountains, chop down dead trees, clean up the brush, make roads, fix roads. They would have them do those kinds of jobs. Um, so that again, factories weren't hiring people. Well, the government will hire you, and you'll do things to help out your town, your state, you know. If again, like when we need a dam, sure, let's make a dam. If we need a canal to make the water go from the dam to a certain area, well, let's dig a canal so that we make sure that when the water is released, that the water goes not only to this place, but also this place and this place. Okay. Now, since the United States was one of the few industrialized countries without some form of Social Security, Congress, or unemployment insurance, Congress passed the Social Security Act. This is those safety nets I was talking about earlier. This is the first time Americans were given unemployment, disability, and pensions for older people. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Before this time, if you lost your job, let's say your boss fired you, that's it. You weren't getting paid. No one, the government was not going to help you by giving you money to till you found another job. Okay. Another thing about unemployment. This is something from my past with students. I've had a student say, "Well, as soon as I turn 18, I'm getting unemployment." Well, have you worked before? No. You can't get unemployment unless you put into the system. If you're getting paid by check, yes, you are paying into unemployment. And then when you get fired, you can collect unemployment. Excuse me. And then a student told me a couple years ago, well, I get paid under the table. Do I get unemployment? No, because you're getting paid under the table. That means you're getting paid with like cash and stuff like that. That's cash that you're not getting taxed on, and that's money that the government has no idea you're getting. And you can get in trouble for that kind of stuff. Okay, that's called tax evasion. The other thing too is like people got hurt. You know, somebody was walking down the road and like three cars hit them, breaks their leg completely. There's no way they can walk. Their arms are busted and things like that. There's too many surgeries and they can't lift too much weight at all. That person won't be able to work. Before this Social Security Act, somebody had to take care of them. There wasn't a government program to give them money to help them out, things like that. There'd be charities and things like that, but they had to stay at that facility, and yeah, sometimes it wasn't really good for them. You know, so there's disability and the pension again. Older people working 40, 50 years of their life, saving money so that they can enjoy their retirement and not have to worry about, oh my God, about this paying this bill, things like that. They had the money already. But because of the Great Depression, their money was worthless. So imagine working all that time, saving up, doing what you can, doing the right thing, and all of a sudden your life saving is worthless, like basically trash. So that's why they had this to help out those older citizens, stay afloat and keep above here, while and avoid being homeless and things like that. So here's your next question. Unemployment, disability, and pension for older age citizens are the safety nets that protects a lot of Americans who have fallen on hard times. Something unexpected occurs or they're too old to work anymore. Now, what I want you to do for this question is pick one of those safety nets. Unemployment, disability, or like pension, the Social Security checks for older people, and write down how do you imagine American citizens would be able to live without one of those. So whichever one you picked, imagine there was no unemployment. So somebody loses their job, and then it's like, well, um, you better find another job quick because those bills are coming in. You got to pay for the food, things like that. Hope you save some money, you know. So imagine if they didn't have that. Oh, and also with unemployment, you can only collect it if you get fired. If you quit, you can't get unemployment. Okay. Let's say disability. Somebody is physically completely disabled. They're mentally disabled. Something happens. An explosion goes through their head, and they're not able to function. Um, what would happen to those people if that disability fund wasn't there. Or like older people, let's say they did save money, but it's not enough and they need that Social Security money. What if that Social Security money never was around? How would they be able to live without it? How would life be for those people? Okay, so think about it. Write your response. Okay, now let me check real quick. Oh yeah, there is none. Um, so there is no exit ticket. So once you finish this question, that's it for this lesson. So hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed it. All right. You guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later, okay?